Mark noticed something weird in the distance. He didn't know what it was at first. It resembled a dog, but he couldn't quite make it out, but it looked familiar. He decided to approach it. The dog did not seem aggressive at all. It begged for Mark to help him. Mark decided to save this stray dog from the streets. When he took it to the groomer, everything seemed fine. The groomer was busy grooming the dog while Mark was waiting. Then suddenly the groomer stopped without explanation. The groomer suddenly went into his office and came to Mark. "I am sorry, I had to do this," he said. Mark was confused. The groomer had called the police and veterinarian. He urged Mark to stay. There was something very wrong with this dog. Mark wasn't sure what to think. The vet didn't speak a word to them when he entered the building. He only took his dog away to make an ultrasound. What was going on? Could this maybe have something to do with the weird behavior he experienced when saving the dog? Or was there something else? The vet returns to the waiting room 10 minutes later, without the pregnant dog. Before he can even question where she was, the vet told him that he had just informed the police and that they were going to question Mark. Mark was in disbelief. He only tried to help the dog. This dog needed surgery, as there was obviously something strange going on in its stomach. It might even be a life or death situation. When the police finally arrived, they helped the vet to sedate the now almost lifeless dog. But the police did not only help the vet, they also came to Mark. "Sir, we need you to come with us. It is important." Mark was shell-shocked. What did he do wrong? Mark answered questions about himself and the dog that he had just saved. When he was done with answering all the questions, he heard disbelief from the surgery room. "I can't believe this," said the vet. But what did the vet find inside the dog that he was so incredibly surprised by? The police were eventually able to find the owner of the dog. This man, Billy, couldn't believe that they had found his dog. They had been searching her for a very long time, ever since that one day when everything went wrong. Billy told the police he should have never trusted one man in particular. Billy was sure that this mysterious man was the cause of all of this. Billy and his family really wanted a second dog, and since he loved his dog, whose name was Alicia, so much he decided to make sure Alicia could give birth to a new dog. But that was not easy. They had gone through a lot of hardships. To be able to understand the situation better, Billy explained to the police how his dog got pregnant. It all started almost a year ago. Billy, Erica, and their 4-year-old son Tim lived together in a small town. Recently in the Anderson home, there had been a lot of sadness, and although the family had just moved into a new town and didn't know much about the town, there was another reason for this sadness. The young family had recently lost a dear member, one that had been a part of the family for 11 years, their family pet, Rio. "Let's get another dog." Even as he said it, Billy had to admit he wasn't so sure about his plan. Eventually, Billy won Erica over and the two decided they would get a dog. But the hurdles had just begun. The family found themselves searching the web for a licensed breeder as Tim really wanted a puppy. After much searching, they found 2 terrier breeders. The couple decided to make it a weekend trip and scheduled visits with both breeders. Sadly, they had sold the very last 2 puppies online. Now Erica and Billy were stumped. Billy and Erica decide it would be best to get home and figure out a new plan. However, 15 minutes into their drive and the couple spotted an animal shelter. Would this be destiny? The young couple was in a neighboring small city and didn't expect to find much of a selection. They were proven right. The shelter attendant explained they only had 5 dogs in their keep and only 2 of them were puppies. However, one dog in particular immediately caught their eye. They were starling, dark brown eyes that neither of them had ever seen on a dog. The dog was timid and smiled while keeping its distance. The Andersons wanted the puppy, but there was some hiccup. However, the employee stated that the shelter did not normally let animals go without first verifying their identity. However, it was a small town and an even smaller shelter that had not seen an adoption in many months. That fact made the employees state that they would make an exception for the young family, but would they come to regret it? The couple was overjoyed and headed in to sign the necessary paperwork. It seemed far too much like fate to let the puppy go. And finally, the young family was headed back home with their new family pet. After a year, the family really wanted puppies, but their dog did not seem like she was able to get pregnant. This is when Billy turned to an old friend of him. He told Billy that he would be able to get the dog pregnant in no time. Billy had his doubts, but went along. Then suddenly, his dog vanished without a trace. Billy suspected his old friend had something to do with it, but he couldn't get a hold of him anymore. Then out of nowhere, he found his dog roaming the streets. Billy was surprised it had actually worked. Their dog was pregnant. He was concerned after the grooming. He doubted that everything was legit about this man and his methods, so when his dog reappeared after a couple of months, decided to take her to the local vet after the groomer recommended it. This is when all the trouble started. When he got to the vet, it was already crazy busy at this early hour, so they had a bit of delay and he had to wait. The vet welcomed Billy and his Alicia. He gave Billy his word that everything would be all right with his Alicia. He just had to make an ultrasound to determine what was going on with Alicia. While performing the ultrasound, the vet's tone changed. Slowly it went from optimistic to pessimistic. Billy noticed this but was afraid that he would keep the vet distracted. Billy waited in anticipation for the vet to return, which he did 10 minutes later, but he didn't have Alicia with him. Before they can even ask any questions, the vet ushers Billy into a different room. Here he starts explaining the situation. He tells the Billy and his family, who had quickly arrived, that he has informed the police and that they will soon be here to pick up Alicia. Billy and Erica were stumped by this, and Tim started crying his eyes out, screaming that he wanted his dog back. The police officer said, "Sir, you have to come with us. We have to ask you some questions." Billy did not understand this. Why did they want to question him? He did not do anything wrong. But since he had nothing to hide, he decided to answer the questions to avoid more misery. They asked how his dog got pregnant in the first place. So Billy answered that he contacted an expert that could help him with this. Billy showed his sources to the police to make sure that they knew it was legal what he did. The police understood Ben and acknowledged that it was all legal, but that they still needed some more information from him. The policeman grabbed something out of his bag that Billy did not expect. The police officer had different mugshots from potential criminals. They asked Billy if he could identify someone from the pictures. Billy was shell-shocked. After seeing a lot of pictures, he saw a familiar face. It was the face of the expert that helped him to get Alicia pregnant. But why was he a suspect? The police explained the situation shortly after. This man was not an expert when it came to dogs, but he also had a history of criminal medical activities. The police were already looking for him and notified vets because he tended to test new medical treatments on different kinds of animals. But what exactly did he do to Alicia? At that moment, they heard a loud noise from the surgery room. "We got it." The police and Billy quickly went over to the surgery room to determine what was going on. Then they saw the vet with something in his hand. What in the world was this? The vet noticed two strange things on the ultrasound, and one of them was a medical chip in Alicia's belly. When the vet saw it, he knew he had to call the police thanks to their communication. The police were looking for that chip, as it was illegally made by the expert that helped Billy. To remove the chip and trace it back to the expert, the police helped the vet with the surgery. Not only did they remove the chip, but they were also happy to help to give birth to a new little puppy. And it was not just a normal puppy. The second thing the vet noticed on the ultrasound was that this puppy was a rare specimen, which potentially could be worth loads of money. This was the reason they were searching for the expert. He was doing this to dogs to breed special dogs. The chip was in place to keep track of the dogs, to eventually steal the puppies from the owners to make load of money. Thanks to Billy, they managed to extract the chip without damaging it. This way, they managed to locate the expert. The vet asked what Billy wanted to do with the puppy. He was really healthy. According to the police, Billy wasn't breaking any laws by keeping the specimen. He was also allowed to sell the dog since he was the Lega owner. This was a really rare specimen that he'd never seen before. The vet told Billy that it was a 1 in a million chance that this would happen. This puppy could be worth loads of money, but Billy had only one thing on his mind. He wanted to keep his new puppy that he named Murphy. After they went through all this, he knew that he and this dog had a special bond that he would never break. After everything, the police were also able to track down the expert and lock him up. So after all, Billy and his family could happily live together with their dogs.